Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the Fit and Fab channel, and with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show. Awesome topic, one of my favorites. With my guest today that we're going to take you on a journey of mindset shift, journey that will get us through a lot of things, change, transformation, nutrition, just the whole nine, right? And so I have with me Roman Roumiantsev. So I think I did that one right now.
That was perfect.
All right. So Roman, welcome to the show. I read your stuff, and your story is just amazing. And I think a lot of people can benefit from it. Doesn't matter if they're going through the same or not. They might know someone who's going, but I think it is important because you've turned your life and transformed your life. I mean, if people read it or at least hear it today, they're going to be like, "Whoa!" I mean, I can do this, and it's a great thing. So I am so excited to have you because I think part of our mission is to educate and enlighten people and inspire and motivate. And I think you're completely going to change some people's lives and help them transform. Plus, you do the work to help people as well. So that's going to be the added value and the bonus, from our discussion, because people can reach out to you and believe me, you guys can get the help as well. So without any further ado, Roman, let's talk about who is Roman and where did your story begin? Because it is a journey.
All right. Thank you. First and foremost, I appreciate and I'm grateful for being a guest here. From the beginning, I grew up in a good household, mom and pops, working class. We were immigrants that moved from the Soviet Union. So drinking was a big part of our culture. We'll just put that. But it was a beautiful household, working mom and dad and everything. But as we grew up in my life, I started drinking very early. So in the early teens, everything was surrounded by it, like parties, birthdays, bad days, good days, holidays, whatever the case may be. It was surrounded by drinking. So it became a norm, and I took this norm into my own life. And as I was married very young, in my early 20s. Had my first child in my early 20s, second child in my early 20s. But with dealing with the stresses and all this external stuff that was happening so early to me, drinking became like my best friend, my coping mechanism. And I really didn't have anybody to talk to because it was just normal. If I went to my parents, it was normal. If I went to my friends, it was normal. They're like, we all do it. Relax. Come have a drink with us. It's not that bad. All right. So drinking became a real big part of my life, and it became so much part of my life that it became an every single day part of my life, to the point where I lost my marriage. I'm a fireman. So it's pretty hard to lose that job. But I was on the verge of losing that as well. I was on the verge of not seeing my kids. I was on the verge of pretty much almost ending my own life. And I had no idea how to stop at all. And I feel like a lot of people, they don't have to be at that state that I was at, but they could get there real quick without even realizing what they're doing to themselves. So luckily, there's a couple people in my firehouse that got me to change. So yeah, that's kind of a brief synopsis of what I went through.
Well. So first of all, thank you for sharing that, because I mean that's pretty personal. But I think there's a lot to discuss there. And before we get into that one, firefighters are lifesavers,
Yeah.
and you guys volunteer your life to save others. So I want to just take a moment to thank you and thank everybody out there that is taking their lives on a day-to-day basis to help everybody else. And whether it's humans or animals, you guys do it all. And every time you go out, there's a risk, and it is not easy. I believe you're in the New York City Fire Department.
Yes, the
All right.
FDNY.
So that's one of the most iconic ones. And by the way, all fire departments around the world are doing the same, and they're great. But it just that I happen to be in New York and Jersey, so I'm closer to home. That's closer to home for me. And I did, I was in New York for many years and living there, and then obviously I moved to Jersey, but I still work in the city. So I want to thank you and thank all firefighters all over the states, any other part in the world, and for the work you do. So that just, I mean. Whenever I have veterans, law enforcement, fire department, I mean, it just we need to take a pause in a moment and just pay our respect to the work. And also, a lot of people lose their lives in the path of saving others, which is not something that anyone wants to hear about, but it's reality. And so again, I don't think there is enough thank you. So I just want to make sure that I say it loud and clear. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So now that being said, it is a very critical job, and it requires a lot of attention and detail and strength and everything. And we're going to talk about, as you said, you were in a point where you almost lost that. Now let's talk about just the alcohol part, right? Unfortunately, it's part of history. I mean, alcohol has always been around, right? And to your point, culturally, it is very common in many cultures that you drink as part of social life, right? It's very easy, and at a younger age. I mean, in the States, we have those rules and regs, but frankly, that's like the bar at the restaurant. At home, I mean, people do what they want, right? And, at parties and so on and so forth. But around the world is the same thing. But what happens with alcohol is that it does dismantle your abilities, eventually becomes an addiction. And depending on how, you're into it, it can take you to the extreme and become part of your life. You're an alcoholic. And I mean, I'd hate to say it, but I've seen people really being destroyed by alcohol in my own personal life. And it is not fun to see someone you love, someone from a family member that is losing their life to it. Right. And I've seen that. So I can really speak, from a personal experience to that. And whenever there's a discussion like this to help people maybe get out of that, bandwidth and really just kind of get into a real smooth life and be more successful and even help people to be successful, that's actually something I really enjoy. And so again, we're here. But you took it from just a casual, family, social concept, but it just became more and more addictive to you. And that was it. And then eventually, you said it, you got married young, and then you lost your marriage. That's something that happens a lot when you have any addiction. Alcohol is one. I mean, there's different types of addictions, but it is usually comes in with with all the other stuff. Once you do that, maybe you can do. We didn't talk about drugs or anything, but I've had many cases where that came with drugs and other types of activities that just basically gets you lost. And then you also almost lost your children in terms of when you divorce, the kids are also kind of a victim to that status, right? And it's a problem because they have to deal with it, especially at a younger age. It becomes difficult. So I mean, parents out there, or anyone that wants to have a family, that is an important item, or at least topic to always keep in mind, that whatever you do affects everybody around you, your family, your relationships, your work, and we're going to talk about that. So that was a lot that you had to deal with. Now, first question: how long was this whole dilemma for? I mean, was it a short period? Was it a few years?
Well, I started in my early teens. So I started drinking before I can't even give you an age. So that's how long it's been. I'm going to be 35 this year. And
God
I
bless.
quit drinking. I spent my first New Year's was this 2021 in rehab. That was my first New Year's sober
Wow, that is a
since
long
I could
time.
remember. Since I could remember. Well, it's the first New Year's that I probably could remember in a while. But yeah, so it's been more than half my life.
Well, and that is somebody's life actually. I mean, some people. I mean, that's the length of their life, or half of their life. I mean, if you think about it, right? And it's a lot. And well, first of all, congrats. That's the first thing I
Thank
want to
you.
say. The fact that you
Thank you.
listen. The reason I say that is because yes, whatever it is right. It happened, but it took steps, and we're going to talk about all that necessary piece of the discussion. But then you made that commitment. 2021 happened, and then you're a new person. You are shifted. You're different, and what I love about it is what you did. Not only you did that to yourself, but now you're actually on the road to help other people and guide other people. I mean, it's funny. Like we all know about AA, right? In general, we know about them as groups and stuff. But with podcasts now and stuff, there's more influence and more discussions about this in the open, which makes it a lot easier for people to actually have the feed and the, I guess, the support without even having to attend any of those groups. I mean, I'm not saying don't attend, please do if you need to, but the idea is that there's more discussion, because normally people keep this a secret and they just do it anonymously, as the groups would suggest, right? But now it's a little bit better because you have abilities and you have a lot of talks about this and things like that, and people are more open about it. And then people that are actually doing the same concept. When you go to these support groups, you have someone, a buddy that helps you, right? But now you're doing the same concept, but helping the masses, right? In a larger scale. And that's also a blessing, and that's a beautiful thing. But so now you went through almost all your life, and as long as you remember, as you said, to only 2 years ago. And then you said it yourself, you became first time sober. Now, I'm assuming that didn't happen overnight. You had to go through some process of rehab. So what was that journey like? And before we go there, I know you mentioned something about your friends at work. They're the ones, because you were at the verge of losing your career. That would have been worse. You were at a point where you're even thinking suicide and all the stuff. So, but then you had good friends, people that cared for you, cared about you, and pushed you to get into the rehab. Now, I know that's not going to be easy. Now, I can't speak to it, but I know any addiction is difficult to get rid of. And you need some real set of people to help you and guide you to accept, admit, and then get into the rehab. And that's the part that's most difficult for everyone, right? So let's talk about that part, because people that are watching right now, listening, either they're going through it or they know someone that's going through it, and we don't even know. We all can be, at any given point of our life, victims of addiction. And let's just be clear about it. If we're not careful, it can turn overnight. I mean, one wrong move, one wrong thing, and the next thing you know, when you're into some sort of addiction. So let's be clear about that. If we know about this, we can help ourselves, we can help someone. So let's talk about that.
All right. So when I say I almost lost my job, I kind of mean it in a way as not like I was going to lose my job for legal reasons or anything. I was going to lose my job because I was physically not going to be able to do it.
No,
I was
I
at
get it.
that
I get
kind
it.
of point at that kind of point in my life where I couldn't wait to get off work to start drinking. I could that's the only thought that was on my mind. Not like how are my kids doing in school, or how's my wife at the time doing, or nothing mattered. Absolutely nothing mattered except the booze, which is insane. Insane to think about today, but that's how it was back then. So when I went into rehab, I had 4 years of fire duty under my belt. So I was a fireman for 4 years. And obviously, the job of a firefighter, while we work, we live in a firehouse.
Two,
So
3
we're
days.
pretty well, it's 24-hour shifts, 3 days a week. So they're not 3 days straight, but they're
Okay.
broken up. So
Mhm.
you have a couple of days off in between. But you get to know the guys, and the guys get to know you pretty well. You can't hide anything. It's like a little family. So they know what's going on. They could smell the booze on you when you come in. They could see how irritated you are. They could see the way you react. They could see the way you function, how sloppy you are. Just, it's not hard to tell when
Mm-hmm.
something's not right with somebody that normally is. Um, so there were a couple of guys with a good amount of time on the job who have experienced other members that were going through kind of what I was going through. And they were in my ear for a while, for maybe 2 years. And it would just go in one ear and out the other. Because the only thing on my mind was,
Who's?
I'm doing nothing wrong. I'm drinking
Oh,
on my own time. I'm
yeah.
not hurting anybody. Like, why are you talking to me? You know, that's all. That's it. What I'm gonna say, which is I think very powerful, which is I don't go out and I don't push anything on anybody, because if somebody is not ready, there's nothing you could do to make them stop. You could beat somebody over the head with the agenda, but unless they really want to, and unless the real thing says that if they can't believe that they could stop, they will never stop, no matter what another person says. So one day, it was the same person, the same senior guy, and I came in and he was like, I spoke to you for 2 years now. I'm going to go talk to the captain now. And I was like, fuck. So I beat him to the captain. I went to the captain as soon as he said that to me. And I was like, I have a problem. I'm pretty sure you know. I want to take care of it today. He's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to go away. So we call it the farm. We call it the farm in the fire department. It's basically rehab. And that evening, I was on a car to Pennsylvania to rehab for 30 days. It happened that quickly. And that was my first day of being sober. Well, and you know what's really, really funny? I was actually talking to somebody yesterday, and it was 449 days. And today is actually 450 days that I haven't drank. I'm sorry. It wasn't 449. It was 499. So today's 500.
That's a big number.
Which is insane. I would have never even thought about. But besides the case, yes. So that's what happened. And rehab in itself was I thought I was going to die in there.
So we're going to talk about the rehab part, because I know that's probably the most brutal. I mean, you know, when you're quitting, where you're deprived, and you know you got to go through all this, and you know, and again, I think that experience can help people see what's in it for them, if if they take that road, and eventually, you know, good and bad. I mean, ultimately, the outcome is always going to be good, because you're going to come out of it, you know, better. But are you prepared to go through that? But I do want to touch on the severity of the addiction in a role like yours. And, you know, I have to say, I mean, your team, they were very patient, I mean, with you, because in essence, every time you guys go out, everybody's life is in the hands of their, you know, friends and partner. Because if you fail someone in a critical fire or some sort of crisis, you know, it can be deadly, right? So that was, I mean, ultimately a difficult thing. And frankly, I mean, they were very patient, but the guy eventually had to make that move. But I think that was the critical point for you to wake up and say, this is gonna, and by the way, and I appreciate what you said about didn't do it because of anything illegal, but you're right. I mean, if you're drinking and this is like really all you think about, it's gonna almost inhibit your abilities, whether you like it or not. I mean, you're gonna get a break, but if you're drunk the next day and come back again to the station or the firehouse, it's gonna be, you're not gonna be 100%, no matter how you play, right? And just part of, you know, the addiction, just alcohol in your system doesn't get out just like that. It's not like you can drink coffee and take a shower, as we see in movies, and you're gonna be perfect. You know, the alcohol is still gonna have some level of limitations that are gonna be, you know, upon you, right? And your coherence is not the same. Your reaction is not the same. You said it. I mean, how you operate can be very different from where you need to be. You're supposed to be 120%, and you're like at 90%. And I'm just giving, you know, percentage here, but it is tough. But you took that, and I think that's a big step, because that's accountability, right? That's when you decide that, you know, I am in the wrong. Because you could have literally said, F this, I'm out, do whatever you want, right? I mean, that could happen too. But you didn't take that, and you kind of realized where you were. I mean, now remember, here's the thing that's interesting. Lost your family, or at least your wife, and that was still, you're still on. But you got to this point and you couldn't. Now, and I'm sure that this also, there's got to be some of that part of it, because the fact that you knew that, and now you get to this, not only you lost your family, now you're going to have without a job, forget about it. Now you lose everything. So I'm sure that that moment was so critical that it had to be that I'm awake, right? Eureka, this is it. And, but I love what you said. I mean, now I do have a question. Is the farm that you're referring to, is that part of the program from the fire department, or is that a private?
No. So there's a counseling unit in the fire department.
Okay.
For like, it doesn't necessarily have to be for addiction, but it's for it because our job is so like psychologically straining on people.
Oh, yeah.
We deal with a lot of stuff. So there's a counseling unit that you could go to, and they offer you support and help in various ways.
Well, thank you for that, because that's a big point. And I did have a show before under our co-hosted, show, Chairs That Matter. We had actually a firefighter from California, I believe it was LA. And same thing, similar case where, there was a point where you had to stop because of the trauma. You might not, and we talked about this in the other show, and I'd like to just bring that here today, is that, many of us, we don't take what you do. We might take what you do for granted, because we see you guys, it's cool, you do anything, it's fun, Christmas time, you guys go around, you do all that good stuff, and you do all the good things, right? But the fact that you see a lot of, hurt and, problems and, even that, right? You are seeing blood, you're seeing all this stuff. That stuff stays with you. You can't just, take that and pack it and just put it in a closet. It doesn't work that way. It's always there. So it is something that is important to realize, that the work you do is not just, I'm just going and walk in the park. This is not a movie where it's orchestrated and it's fake. It's real people. It's real, crisis. It's also your adrenaline, your life at risk, and all this stuff is happening. So all that stuff is not going away. Over the years, it's just going to add up. And there is a point where, in your case, yeah, you had alcohol. Maybe that was one of the way of you coped with it, because that kept you always numb and you were okay. But there was a point where you had to stop, and you did. But I love the idea that there is a counseling system, and they are always prepared for anyone on the force to actually be able to get the help that they need. And that, again, I wanted to highlight that, because it is important, and also someone that may not know that there is resources for you. So whether you're on the force or not, there's always going to be a resource out there to help you if you are choosing to get the help. So now you did, but you said Pennsylvania. I mean, you're in New York. Is that related, or just any type of rehab?
That's just the one they sent me to.
All right.
So,
all right. I mean, I thought it was a specific one, or
they just sent me to it, and I mean, it was a great one because it helped me.
well, I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure some of them are better now in terms of service, but the objective is the same. But now, like, you go in, your day one. I mean, can you describe how that I'm sure it's going to be the withdrawal part in the first couple of days, because I'm sure they're not going to allow you to have anything, or maybe they do. I don't know if it's a weed-in kind of concept where they get you a little less, or it's just like day one, you're done. Deal with it. I mean, how's that, process?
Yeah, so day one, you're done. You walk in, you're done. Then you could, you walk in and you're done. But obviously, that help you through the withdrawal process. I was so deep into it that like my withdrawal process was like almost a week, and it wasn't fun. So don't try to, if you're deep in alcohol, I'm just gonna say, do not do it alone. If you're at the point where you're drinking every single day, and you're at the point where that's all you think about, and it's a constant thing that you can't live without, do not stop on your own. It's life threatening. So you're gonna need to go into a facility.
So Roman, I wanted to just ask this. I mean, when you have an addiction, you never say that I have an addiction. You don't know that you have an addiction. I mean, You kind of like you're in denial all the time. I mean, it's very like, it's like when we see it, like someone gets pulled over, I'm not drunk. I mean, you could tell they're drunk, but they say I'm not drunk, and that's just the light one. But if you have an addiction, nobody's gonna say, "Oh, I'm an addicted person. I have an addiction. You know, no, I'm good." What do you say about it? I just love to drink, right? So that's usually well, at least we know. And I've seen that again when you talk to someone, dude, you have an issue. Now, what are you talking about, dude? I'm just a happy man. I like to drink. It's not affecting my life. I'm good. I got this. That's usually what everybody's thinking while they're in it. Until, to your point, it's do or die. It's just a bad situation, and then that's when. And by the way, luckily, nothing happened. I mean, something could have happened to you. Something could have happened to someone at work where you're there and you're not 100%. It could have happened where you'd be driving or something, God forbid, and get into an accident. Many people do get into these situations, and now they're in jail or whatever, or dead. So it's not simple, and it's very tough, to be in there. And again, I can talk about it all I want. If I haven't been myself through it, I would not understand. But like I said, I did experience it through my entourage, and I've seen people going through these levels of addiction as well as withdrawal, and it is not easy. You see people literally suffering, and it's just bad. I mean, when they're going through that phase, it's not easy. So first of all, congrats, because that you've gone through it. And like everything else, right? It's easier when you're in it, but then when you try to get out of it, it's not going to be as simple, and it's part of the price you pay. But the idea is 500 days.
Yeah. The funny part is I don't even count it. I don't do the whole AA thing. We'll get into it later, but I don't do the AA things. I don't count my days. It was just really funny that yesterday I was just talking to somebody because they texted me, and they're like, one of my I'm coaching him, so he's one of my clients, and he's like, because of you, I'm 61 days of no alcohol. So he wasn't an addict or anything like that. He just had like the one or two beers every day after work or whatever. But he's like, I'm 61 days sober, and I'm like, let me go look, because I downloaded this app because they told me to do it in rehab, count your days, blah blah blah. So I go on my days, and I'm like, holy shit. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed
It's
to curse
okay.
or
It's
not.
okay.
But I'm like, wow, I'm at 499. Yeah,
Well,
I
I
didn't
am
even
glad
realize it.
I am glad to have you on 500. If it's a nice number. Yeah, listen,
Yeah.
I like those solid numbers. They're good. They have something about them, right? Well, you can say I'm a half a thousand days, just to amplify, right?
Yeah.
But again, it is tough, right? Now you got in, you stay there, you have to commit for 30 days, right? So, and I'm assuming the job doesn't, they pay you and everything for this transition.
Yeah. So I went in voluntarily.
Uh-huh.
So I reached out. Basically, I went, since I came to my captain and I wasn't legally like in trouble or anything with the job,
Mhm.
and I just asked for help. I could have left rehab on the first day.
Right.
Like if I said, screw this, I'm good, I'm going to continue my life, in a week in or a day in, I could have just left at any point.
Mm.
But I didn't. Yes. So I spent 30 days there, and then the job actually helped me out a little more when I got out for another like month or something with the counseling unit. And then I just went back to full duty. And yeah,
But
but
again, you volunteered. You were committed, and
yeah. I mean, I personally think that anybody who's at the place of like true addiction,
Mhm.
they know that they're an addict. They know they need help. It's just that mental state, that mindness, that they don't think that they could do it. Like
Mhm.
it's got them wrapped around and shackled up so much that it's like I can't live without this. I like I there's it's impossible. Like, and I feel like since I've gotten over that little bump in my life, well, I say little now, but it was the biggest thing in the world when I was going through it. I feel like if you could get through that, you could get through almost anything you want in this life. Like that
Powerful.
uncertainty, and that uncertainty of not being able to do something, and you were able to accomplish like something like that at that capacity. This is why it inspires me so much to help people, is because if you just stack those wins, you will understand that you could do anything you put your mind to, and that's where that passion comes from. That
Well,
just that 30 days of like just just basically being reborn.
I'm sure that feeling is unique, and like to your point, it's a rebirth. It's like a new you. It's a whole new life, and I love what you said. First of all, you were over 30, almost well, maybe close to 30 years in doing this. Some people are getting addicted, to these things in a year or two. So the time that you had, it's a long time, and so for you to actually get out of it within 30 days, that in itself is an achievement. I think. I mean, because it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's just watching Netflix. If you're literally sitting in front of TV every day, or gaming, it could be an addiction, right? I mean, food can be an addiction. It's the same concept. And these are the lighter versions, which they have some other problems that occur. I mean, literally watching TV, gaming can have physical, nutrition, and other type of problems. You can even lose your job. You can lose things because of these things, right? But they're not at the level of addiction of alcohol, drugs, and other type of things, right? But the idea is, no matter what it is that you're addicted to can be a problem, and changing from today is the day I change and I become a new person. That's always a good stuff. And I love what you said about it inspires you to help others. And really, only someone who's been through that experience will feel that way more than the average person, because you know what it feels like. Oh my God, you have no idea what it feels like to be actually clean, to be, over, to have a whole new reset. And not everybody gets a reset. I mean, again, people sometimes lose their lives. And again, I can speak from my own experience, and without sharing, the details, I've had a close person to me, a family person who actually gone through this and lost their life. And, it's not as simple as people think. And, and it's someone that I grew up with. So I know how hard it is. People don't realize it, but when you see someone that you love, that you're close to, basically just destroying themselves without even knowing, there's no more. There's a point where there's no return, and I think that's the hard part. It got to a point where there was nothing to do, and that was the end. And as sad as it sounds, but there is, at least for the living, for people that are listening and watching today, there is a way out, and understanding that there are solutions and resources available to you. That's important. And I think you are one of them, because again, I can inspire people as much as I can talking, but it's not going to be the same coming from someone who's been through the process and understands it inside out. Now, you went to rehab. You're not the only one there. There's other people there from all over the nation, if I'm not mistaken. Now that you said it's Philadelphia or Pennsylvania, I'm not sure if it's Philadelphia, but I just assumed. but
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, yeah. I used to work in Philadelphia, so just first thing comes in is just so feeling, right? But the idea is that you were there with other types of addiction, or is it only alcohol, or is it drugs?
Oh no, it was everything. It was everything. Yeah.
So how was that? I mean, I'm sure you were changing or exchanging stories and lifestyles and so on and so forth with other people. What that was, I mean, I'm sure it's another awakening there.
Yeah. So before I went into rehab, like most of my life, I was a very like shy person. I don't really like to open up. I wasn't much about talking. I don't know, I was like a true introvert. Like just stuck to myself, blah blah blah, until I drank. Right. That's why I loved alcohol. It was my best friend.
Well,
I drank, and
it
I would
became a new
never
you.
be able to be on a podcast sober a year and a half ago.
You're good today.
I would have never been able to do this. But yeah, so rehab kind of like, but see why it was hard for me. It was like, so now I have to like talk, because that's what like really what rehab is. It's just you're just talking to counselors, you're talking in groups, you're just talking. You're talking for 9 hours a day, and so yeah, so I don't know. You just learn how to communicate in rehab. You learn how to express your emotions. You learn how to actually like understand yourself in a way. Like you're more clear-minded now. You're not really that clear-minded because you just stopped, so your mind's still all over the place. But it was a weird process. I don't really like rehab, but it did teach me how to open up and express myself. That's what I took away from rehab is like I needed the 30 days of isolation and just alone time. I also went in when it was COVID, so we were kind of like we were isolated, kind of like half the time.
Oh,
So we were
yeah,
like,
that's right.
we would be in a group, isolated, in a group, isolated, in a group, isolated. So it's kind of, it wasn't like your normal rehab where like you're surrounded by people all the time. It was kind of like COVID rehab, I guess. Um, yeah, but what happened was, my experience in rehab, what I did every morning, we would meet up at 8 in the morning. We would have our roll call, which everybody goes to. Then we have our breakfast meeting. Then we go to our room. We do some stuff, reading, writing. Then we do lunch, meeting, go back to our room, dinner, meeting, and then go to sleep. But before 8 o'clock, we were allowed to go to the gym at 6 in the morning. So from 6 to 8, you could work out, you could do whatever. So that's where my fitness journey started. I said, while I'm here every morning, I'm waking up at 5:45, and I'm going to be in the gym before it opens. So I'll be there, and I'm going to be the first person in the gym at 6 o'clock when they open that door and turn the lights on. And I did not miss it. There was maybe out of the 500 patients there was maybe 5 that did that. But that was like, all right. So if I could do this in rehab, then I'm going to do this every day for the rest of my life. This is going to be one of my non-negotiable habits that I will never drop. So that's how fitness became like what it is for me today. And fitness taught me a lot. And then the other thing in rehab is the AA book. I never read the AA book. They praised it and praised it and praised it. I I could never understand. Which, listen, if the AA book helps you, for whoever's listening to this, if it helps you, and that's what works for you, then God bless you and do what's helping you for sure. For me, it was the AA book and like the meetings and the Alcohol Anonymous groups and all of that. They always surrounded you around your addiction. They tell you that you're always an addict. You're always in recovery. So it's like you're living your life sober, but you're still kind of bound to it. Like they kind of tell you you're never over it. Like you're forever in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I'm like, if I'm going to be bound to this for the rest of my life, eventually those shackles are going to drag me back into drinking. If I'm going to go into a church meeting every single week and just talk about how much I want to drink every day and how it's like always on my mind and the things that I do to overcome this week of not drinking, like eventually, where's that going to lead you to? In my head, it's going to lead me back to drinking. So the way I looked at it is if I'm going to never do this again, I have to kill this Roman. And I have to literally have a rebirth. This is why I say in rehab, I was reborn. I have to create a new Roman, complete new Roman. And so I started so you're not allowed to have cell phones in rehab, but I went into COVID and half the day we would be in our rooms. We were allowed to have our cell phones for the times we were in our rooms.
Hmm.
I'm jumping a little bit. I'm jumping everywhere right now, but it's
no, it's actually perfect.
All right, so I had my phone. So I started, instead of reading the AA books, I started downloading books like Think and Grow Rich, how to talk, how to talk to and influence people. I downloaded The Art of Living. If anybody wants to read a really good book, simple book, it's like a 2-hour read. The Art of Living by Epictetus. It's amazing. Outwitting the Devil. So all these books in 30 days, literally those 4 books I read in 30 days. And I still reread those books. And I'm not a reader. That's probably the only 4 books I've ever read in my life. So I started reading those books. So between fitness and what that helped me with is my mindset, is like is the self-love and stuff like that. And the fitness and the mindset is what got me through my first year. I don't want to coach anybody. I didn't even look for a coach myself. All I did was I worked out like, don't get me wrong, the alcohol and stuff, it was always on my mind for the beginning of not drinking. It's impossible for it not to be.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would do is I would counteract them with just reading and like quotes and stuff like that, and just I rewrote the books. It's crazy. I didn't just read the books, I rewrote the books. And then I would go and work out every single day. So when I got out of rehab, I would still wake up at around like 6 a.m, and I would go to the gym to start my day off. And then there were days where I would work out again just to get myself so tired I didn't have to think. And then I would just go to bed. Like, when I'm working, I was working. I'm occupied. When I'm with my kids, I'm occupied. But on my days off, when I was alone, I would just work out until I had no energy, and I just had to go to sleep. So that was kind of that was the hard part.
So Roman, first of all, listen, this is powerful stuff. I mean, I love the idea about you going to the gym. You found something different, something that, and by the way, gym can be addictive in its own, but it's a good addiction. It gives you a different high, right? And you feel good about yourself, and your body now is a lot more aware, and it's going to reject all the bad stuff, and it's going to want the good stuff, the good nutrition. And we'll talk about that in a second. And but you said it, I mean, you go to the gym, you can spend at least 2-3 hours easily if you really love what you're doing, and it becomes your new you. So that was part of it. And I love what you said about reading books that are life-changing. And again, we're doing a show right now about changing lives and transformation and mindset, but those books were your first catalyst, into this world of, you can be better, you can do something different, you can be a new you can change. It's all the mindset. And that's actually probably the most powerful thing in all of us as humans. If the mindset is everything, right? You change your mindset to a certain way, everything else follows. You have it in one way, you're going to follow. It's whatever you look at is where you're going to be. And we all have the capability of changing. The question is, you have to be aware, right? You have to be ready. You have to be, literally into it, as opposed to just like, I don't want to know about it. And by the way, I love what you said, that alcohol is always going to be there. And I'm sure you go out, you go eat. I mean, there's alcohol in the bar, there's alcohol in the restaurant, there's alcohol everywhere, right? You go to a supermarket, there's alcohol. And if you're really if you can weaken to that point, you easily can be in attempted mode, to get back into it. And the other thing is, you have to be also careful. I'm sure that you have set yourself around where your friends and your circles are not gonna even get you in a position of that. And again, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I mean, maybe you can tell us about that. But it's important, because I know that if your entourage, your support system is broken, you can relapse to something that's easy, right? But if you have a nice little fortress around you to help you all along, I mean, 500 days or a year and a half in the making, that's great to hear. But it's a matter of continuous, like you said. Now the gym is your life for life. And that's a big deal. I mean, by the way, I mean, I was laughing because I was looking at your profile here on, and you got some nice little ripped picture going there. So I might use that picture actually for the show. But that was a transformation. I mean, that's like everybody's dream to have the body that it portrays in the picture. But it's a cool thing, right? I mean, you took it up on yourself, and it's here, right? You put in all your energy in your body and your well-being. Mind and body together are working. By the way, when we do fitness, it's not only just the fitness part of it. It's the heart, it's the blood, the oxygen, the brain, everything is functioning properly. The nutrition is also part of that. So you add that to it. And so your mind is even better, right? Your body is rejecting toxins. It changes, your endorphins are kicking. So all this stuff is good for you. And so it's like, there's nothing better than that. I mean, I have to say, when you spend some time, I do work out too. And when you go to the gym or do your exercise, it's like the best hour you have, the best 2 hours you have. Nothing can beat that. I'm sorry. It is there's a high to it on its own, and it changes things. But your mindset, your shift has happened, and you had some right tools to help you with that. And again, they were not very complicated tools, really. Books to read, and a hobby that was good for you. That's what it is. I mean, fitness could be a hobby. It could be literally a function. I mean, something that you do for a living too. People make a living doing fitness. But at the end of the day, it was something that you found yourself in, and it became your medicine. And it is your medicine today. But I think what you did now is taking it to the next level. And you said the first year was just about you, but then you realize now I can inspire others. And I think in this new mission of yours, you'll find yourself more. And that's just me talking right now, because I can see the idea that, wow, now I can help other people. And the best way to learn things and to be things is to train things and do them, on an ongoing and showing other people. If I show someone something, I'm doing it as well. So it helps me, and it keeps me always in tune with that thing. I mean, it's like out of sight of mind. This is really in the mind. This is every day in your mind. You're working with it. So you're constantly seeing your tools and you are working with them. So it makes a difference for you to continue. And it also gives you that satisfaction, that new high. And this high is not addictive. I mean, it's an addiction in its own, but it's a good addiction. There's no the bad detrimental, stuff to your health and life. This is all positive. So let's talk about that. Now you're out of the rehab. You continue doing this. You went to your life. You've almost rewrote those books, and I get the concept, because you're kind of like applied those things to your life and twisted and tweaked and stuff to make it your own formula, and it's working. But then what prompted you into now? Let's take it through. I mean, you said you were shy. Now you're doing podcasts. You're inspiring people. You're talking to people. You share with people, and that shows to our audiences that. Doesn't matter what dark place you're in. Doesn't matter how long. Doesn't matter what time in your life. Today is always a good day to change. And there's always an opportunity. And know that you can. And that's a big, in its own, that's a big message. Every day is a new day. And we can really write a new chapter, as we say, right? You can rewrite your life. You can be a newborn person now, born again. I'm not talking religious wise, but same concept. It's the idea of like a new you is real. You can, anyone can, but it takes will, power, it takes ability, it takes accountability, it takes hard work and patience, because this was not something you did overnight, right? The first 30 days are the brutal ones, but now you're still now on your own. Once you pass that, I mean, you could literally just relapse back to anything, right? Anybody can do that, because everything is around us. I mean, it's pretty open territory where you can easily get a drink. I mean, someone say, hey, it's a party, it's a birthday, it's okay, just a small drink. And it starts with a small drink and then now forget about it, right? But you didn't get into that. You're committed, but you found every single other formula to guide you, to help you. And now you even got to the next stage, or the higher stage, where you're elevated to help others. So let's talk about that journey now. Your inspirational and coaching, concept, because you are doing that. You help him. You mentioned someone who's 60 plus days into, changing their lives. And, that is ideal when you actually are now taking it back and giving back. Again, that's beautiful, because not everybody is willing to do that. I mean, you can be selfish and just say, I'm good. I don't need to do this with anybody, and I don't have to help people. But some people do see the value, because they know what they've gone through, and they know, wow, somebody else could use the help. And frankly, somebody did help you, because that senior person in your job that was, about to make the move and helped you in a way, whether you liked it or not, that was, the moment that made you make the shift. So there is always someone that's willing to help, but are they always available to you? Are you exposed to them? You made that difference. You made yourself available. So let's talk about that.
All right. So
that's a lot.
First year was me. It was all me. I everything that revolved around drinking, everything that revolved around going out, I didn't even like go out that didn't that even revolved around not drinking. The only thing I did was work, self development, fitness, and children. That's it. Going to rehab helped me a lot with my ex-wife and having my children back and stuff like that. That was a benefit of making the right decision. So I got that back as well. So that was my entire first year of sobriety. By the end of that sobriety, so now I'm kind of mentally okay, right? Self development's good, fitness is great. Guys in the firehouse was like, yo, what the hell is going on with this guy? You know what I mean? Like, what was happening? And somehow, some way, I get introduced to my coach that I have today through the internet. Wasn't looking for a coach. I wasn't looking for anything. I was just trying to be the best version of myself that I needed in my darkest times. Right? That was my entire goal. And funny is what you were saying right before is one thing is fixing your own life, another thing is helping others. Right? So I started talking to this coach. um, and he's like, "Oh wow, that's great, Rome. So you're selfish. You're pretty much selfish. So you fixed yourself. You're not an alcoholic. You got jacked. You're mentally good now, and that's it. You're not gonna do nothing about it. That's it. You're good. Good job, Rome. You're selfish as hell." He's like, "What about like the 8 billion people out there? Let's just divide that number by not, but like, let's just take the 10% that are struggling. You don't want to help them out. You don't want to like prove to them that what they're doing is wrong. Show them how easy it is in 1 year to literally change your life completely." And I'm like, yeah, you're kind of right. I was like, yeah, you're making sense here. But like, it's also said like you can't see the next level because you're not there yet. It's like all I saw was, wow, I'm doing great. I cannot believe that I accomplished all this stuff. I'm the greatest relationship with my kids. The I'm like the best firefighter I could have ever been. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm 35. I feel like I'm 25 again. You know, like everything's great. Like I didn't even know that there was another level to this. I had no idea. I was like, I thought I'm good. I'm there. And he's like, dude, you're never there. This is a mountain that like you hit your next goal and it's like somehow there's another peak and then there's another peak. That's what I tell people all the time. You might not see where you're going right now and you have a goal, but once you accomplish it, you're gonna want something else. You're never there. You're never there. So like just enjoy where you're at is what I'm saying. Like if you're doing something a little bit better today than you did yesterday, and you're gonna do something a little bit better tomorrow than you did today, you're on the right path. You know, like you're doing good things. Just don't end up doing the same thing you did yesterday today. Because then that's that comfortable state where we get lost in. And you could end up being there like I was for half your lifetime. You know? And that's what I kind of like want to share to people. Like you don't need to have the dad bod. I mostly work with men. You don't need to have the dad bod. You don't have to be that irritated dad that comes home and he's always like, I don't have time. I just did all the work. I make the money. Now take care of me. I'm entitled to be taken care of. I'm the king of the house. You know, like you don't have to do that. You don't have to be in that little confined space where where when you're comfortable and you live like everybody else, like the majority of people, you're not happy. And then what I mean is like you're satisfied, but you're truly there's no happiness revolved around it. That's what I've noticed about it. Unless I'm serving somebody, unless I'm impacting somebody else, I'm not satisfied. That's like my new addiction. I'm not satisfied. If I didn't make somebody's life better, then like what am I doing?
It's amazing. It's just another high. It's like you're looking for the next
It's
high.
crazy. It's
But
crazy.
I relate to that. I know that feeling because the work I do is very similar, just in different angle. But really, I create a platform for the same, to serve people for the same purpose and sharing resources and value. But really, it's that feeling, that the idea that I know that I'm contributing somewhere, that I'm helping somebody. I don't know who's being helped today, but I know someone is being touched regardless. And it's not so much because of me. Really, it's because of you. And my guests are the ones who are really touching the lives. But the idea of me creating an opportunity where we can share this value has been my high, right? And I'm looking at what's the next move, what I can do to get it better and better and better. And that's the feeling. Like you can't, again, stagnate. You can't be on the same level. You got to always like, what's the next top, right? And when you get there, like, let's find, and that's the beauty of it. You can go infinite. The sky is, there's no limit in the sky. It's infinite space out there, right? So you can just keep going. But the idea is that if you are in the same position, you're gonna get stagnated, you're gonna get stale, and eventually you might just kind of go, okay, get bored. When you get bored, that's a challenge. That could be a problem. We don't want to be bored. We want to be excited about what we do. What you're doing is really got a positive, feature to it. You can see people changing, and that's in its own unique. I mean, that's talking about medicine, talking about just like, I feel great. That is the feeling that you can, and you see it. I mean, because it's one thing for me to put a show out. I don't know the tangible outcomes, but you are talking to people live one-on-one. You can see them transforming, from A to B to C to D, and you're moving into that ladder where you can see them transform into a better themselves. And there's nothing. I mean, that talking about satisfaction and talking about giving back, it's the highest level of, I guess, euphoria. I mean, it's bliss. It's somewhere that is unique. And so now you mentioned a coach. Now, I guess in between you did decide to get some additional, guidance through a coaching program. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So it was a coaching. It was a coaching program because so I was good in a place. Well, I thought I was good. So like physically, I was still thinking physically, right? I still wanted. I didn't look the way I look in that picture. Before. So I got this coach, and he's jacked. His name's Wes Watson. He's on Instagram. If anybody wants to find him, he's 240 pounds, ripped, just jacked. And he's also a business coach, which I started on his just fitness program, right? So I'm good with the workouts. I'm good with the mindset. I wasn't good with the nutrition. I was just eating whatever came my way, right? And I was thinking, listen, I work out, I eat a ton of food, I get bigger, right? I work out, I eat a ton of food, I get bigger. I work out, I get a ton of food, and this is what majority of guys think. It's very wrong. Very wrong. You have to know your macros. You got to know your fats, your carbs, and your proteins. You have to know your daily limits. And if you don't know them, you'll never have a six pack. You'll never be busting out with veins. You won't have that summer body that you want. It's virtually impossible if you don't count. If you don't count the correct number, and it all depends on your height and your weight, and then it's broken down by the amount of macros that you need for your body. So I had no idea about that at all. I had no idea. I just thought that just eat a ton of protein and work out, and you're good. Which I was 220 pounds when I first met him, and he was 240 pounds, and I'm like, you're 20 pounds more than me, but I look like a sloppy mess compared to you. And he's like, yeah, how do you eat? And I told him how I ate, and he's like, yeah, that's why you're a sloppy mess. And in the first 2 months, I went down to 180 pounds, just eating the right way. The workouts changed slightly, just because he gave me a program. So like it didn't really change much. It was just like the workout stayed the same, just the sets and the repetitions changed, but the nutrition. Once I started eating the right way, I just lost all that extra fat, and it happened so fast. To me, it happened fast. To the average person who was expecting something, because a lot of people want to hop on a program and think that in a week or two they're going to have results. I mean, it boggles my mind how you think that you could eat for your entire life one way and then hop on a program and in 2 weeks you're going to look like the coach that you went to, like.
Common
But
mistake.
that's the average mentality of somebody. But for
Mhm.
me, like in 2 months when I lost, maybe I was like, maybe I'm wrong, because 40 pounds, that seems like a lot, but I lost a significant amount, like almost 30 pounds in 2 months of just fat. And it was insane. It was very hard at first because he basically like starved me. he went very strict with me. But we spoke. Well, like you won't do that to the average person, but like we spoke together, and he knew like how I was like into this and how much I wanted the body that I wanted. And he listen, with the right coach, the right plan, the right habits, you will be surprised if you follow it to the T and don't miss how easy it is. And yeah, right. So I went down to like 185 pounds or whatever it was. And now, like, we went down there. I was like about 5 to 8% body fat. And then now we're just working my way back up because I wanted to gain my weight. I wanted to be
But the
220
muscle.
pounds. Yeah, I wanted to be. So now I'm like at 195 and I look bigger than I was at 220.
Because it's the
Well,
muscle now.
because it's the muscle now, and you're losing the fat, and you're gaining the muscle, and you're doing the right things.
Mhm.
When you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing, and that's why you're getting the results you're getting. That's pretty much so. That he got my body straight. He got me to like. He's like, listen, you have a story. You've overcame a lot of shit, and you got to man up, and you have to. He basically gave me a blueprint. And he's like, this is what you have to do. And if you do it and you believe it, just do it and believe it. That's it. That's it.
It's
And I did it and I believed it and it's working.
well,
It's working.
believe, action.
It,
It's everything, right? And
it's
and
huge.
commitment. I mean, it's part of it.
It's
You
huge.
committed and you were ready for whatever it. I mean, that's the thing. It's painful. This is not easy stuff.
Oh,
When you talk about it, it sounds easy, but going through a transformation for your body, your mind, everything is brutal. But it takes you willing to do that. That's the willpower. It takes you committing and putting the time and the effort, and to your point, following the formula to get to where you need. But that is almost guaranteed if you did it that way. And I think that's the problem. Most of us, we want shortcuts. We don't want to do that, or we want to do it in halftime. We want to see results yesterday as opposed to taking the time. You said it, 30 years is not going to be impacted in 1 month or 2 months. I mean, you got to work, you took you that long. Now it's not going to be that easy to just move on. And I think sometimes people lose that, I guess, patience. They lose the motivation. It's over, right? And then they just collapse and it's over. So he transformed you physically, and then he built your mindset to really now you need a new high, and the new high is to take this on the road and share with other people, and then that's it.
so yeah, he, well, what he told me is you're never going to be satisfied. So how he explained to me is like, now that you see what I do to people, what I do for people, and if you don't do it, you will never be truly happy. You won't be truly satisfied with yourself. You're always going to think, what if I did do it? What
Mm.
if I did take this route as my coach? What if I did help other people? What if I wasn't so selfish and just took care of myself, but I actually help other men and women out there to accomplish the same things for them to better themselves and their families, right? And it's just like, I think that's what we were put on this earth to do. If you accomplished anything and you don't share that with the world, like, I feel like we're all, I'm not religious, but I follow universal law. And one of those laws is the law of oneness.
We're connected.
So with the law of oneness, we're all connected, right? So what I went through is the same thing that somebody else possibly could go through, right? So it was really funny. I was telling an analogy to somebody else, right? So let's just say we're in a shopping center, right? Like, let's say we're in a Costco or BJ's or whatever, right? And you see this jacked guy, right? This strong father figure. He has two little kids and his wife, and the kids just like throwing up, having a panic attack, like poop coming out of his diapers, the other kids on the floor causing chaos. The wife doesn't know what to do. And you see this guy just like, babe, relax. And just takes care of everything. Very calm, collected, took care of the problem, changed the diaper, talked to the other kid. He was hungry, gave him something to eat and a drink. The wife has finally calmed down. And there might be like 5 people watching. And some of them could be dads that are like, yo, how the hell did this guy just manage this shit? And you just change somebody's perspective on life that you won't even know ever. You'll never know it. But you could have just changed somebody's life. And that's what I mean by oneness. Like, you never know who's watching. You never know how you could change somebody's life. So my goal is just be the best person that I could be, that I needed in my darkest times, and give that person to the world. And that's all I'm teaching. That's literally, when it comes down to the body, the mindset, nutrition, and fitness is very important. But that's not what I'm selling. I'm selling like their lifestyle. That's what I'm truly selling, because that's how I got my life back. Is my daily habits that I do now. I answer to above. That's it. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't, like, it doesn't even bother me. And I am who I am, and I justify myself by my daily habits. And that's it. If I wake up at a certain time, I hit the gym, I do everything that I had to do that day, then I'm good. I'm good. Take everything away from me, I will do the same daily habits the next day. And that's how I have my self-worth.
Roman, this is powerful. And I have to say, I mean, I love when I hear that. And now you are living to help others. And you're right. Knowledge is meant to be shared, not to be kept. And you're right. We are connected. We can make a difference one day at a time, one person at a time. And sometimes many people at a time, I mean, a show like this, a discussion, like you point, you can be in a public, area. Many people are watching. And while you're not paying attention, people are paying attention. And we live in a day, everybody's watching everybody. So just be careful what you do, good and bad. People are looking at you, right? So it's just amazing how we are. I mean, you got cameras all over the place. Somebody is watching.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are. There's somebody is watching at any given time. But you're right. Being a model, being someone that is inspirational, that gives motivation to others. It is a satisfaction on its own, and I think it's a calling, right? It is a legacy that we all can contribute in this world. At the end of the day, we're here. One day we're not here. Bottom line, it's the messages that we keep. It's that actually positive influence that we keep around and we give to people. That's going to stay around. And again, you don't know how far that thing's going to go, because you teach one person, they teach 2, they teach 4, and then that load just, multiplies. And before you know it, you have a generation of people that learn some concepts from you. I mean, look, you're talking about your coach. And I'm excited about hearing about him and his work, right? And his influence on you is powerful. And I'm sure he did the same with others. Now it's your turn to do this. And by the way, kudos to him, because he's not selfish either. He could have said, like, this is my world. I don't want another coach doing my work, because, I want it all for me. But there's plenty out there. You said it, 8 billion. Even if we take 10% of that, we can never run out of people who need the help. And every day there's someone's going to
Of course.
So it is not like, there's enough out there to help everybody, and there's plenty for everyone, right? But even if we don't need coaches, right? But if we all help each other, at the end of the day, we all can coach someone. Our immediate environment, the people that we can touch, and whatever, like your work, partners and friends, you don't know who you're going to actually influence. Your family members, your kids. That's the first influence, right? They're yours. They hear you, they see you, your pattern, your behavior is going to be attached to them in their, whether they like it or not, it's in their subconscious. One day they're going to just do things and like, oh, I used to see my dad doing this, and by the way, it worked the same way if you had been the same character, that you were before this, right? It would have been that person versus this person. They just have a better role model right now than they had before. But you don't know how those things, and people, again, watching and listening, doesn't matter, folks. If you're going through tough times, good times, everybody's going to sometime. We don't know what people are going through. You don't know what I'm going through. I don't know what you're going through, but we do know what we hear, right? But at the end of the day, keeping positive under the worst circumstances, that's a positive. Trying always, sometimes you're not able to help yourself, but you can help someone, and karma is good. Is a bitch, as we say, but it can be good or bad. What you dish out, you get back. You dish good, you get good. So do good into the world. You're going to get good back no matter how you see it. You don't even see it in sometimes, and then you're like, whoa, how did that happen? Well, maybe you planted some good seed somewhere, sometime, and then now you get the results. We don't know. But if we're all doing good in this world, we will actually cultivate good. And I think that in its own, a message that we cannot live without. That's not something light, that we can take in a light format. It is powerful. It is huge. And, really, I personally thank everyone that's doing the work you do. I admire everybody that does the work you do. And I congratulate you for doing it, because, listen, and I would endorse anybody that's doing this and help them. And my platform is for everybody that's doing your work to bring it to the world. Because again, some people, to your point, you have to look for someone to guide, to help, right? And you got exposed to them somehow. And you don't know what way you're going to get into somebody who's going to get, to transform you and help you transform. Now, again, nobody's going to change nobody without their will and their contribution and input, right? But because I can put you in front of 10,000 people, maybe 1% of those people will be willing to make the change, and that's fine. And maybe more. We don't know. But the idea is you're doing the work. And that's, again, it is the ultimate satisfaction for you. And it's the ultimate, opportunity for others. And so again, I thank you with all my heart, and I God bless you, man, for doing what you're doing, and I admire your journey of transformation, and then we are today. And I know, almost from all my heart, know that you're going to do more and more and more. Maybe you come back and you have a full coaching, system going, and new books, and you never know. Because that's what I've seen in the last 3 years. I've been doing this, almost 600 shows. And, a lot of guests and all different, levels and different, challenges in their lives, but they all have one thing in common. They all are striving and thriving better, right? Striving for better and thriving and doing their own thing and helping others. Their mission is to change the world into a better place. And there's nothing wrong with that. My wife sometimes questions, like, oh, you're too positive. I'm like, I can't help it. I surround myself with positivity. I hear these things and they keep me motivated. So just by having the discussion, I'm pumped. I'm about to jump on my seat right now. That's really how it is. That's the feeling you get. It's like adrenaline rush. And people, it's talking about high. This is my high. It's like, if you look at my Instagram, it's all about positive messaging, mindset, this, that, the other. And, I just take these things that are available and I look at them myself, and then I share them with the world. And so it's a double win. I win, somebody else is going to win. That's it. And it's a pleasure. So I like I said, I enjoy these discussions. It keeps me going. And again, I thank you for doing what you're doing. We are about the end of the show here. So now, how can people reach out to you and for you to be able to assist?
Sure. Before I say that, but thank you for having me, man. You see, this is great stuff over here because a lot of people, they do the whole Netflix and chill and they watch the same shows over and over again, but they tend to not realize that those shows are making them comfortable as well. It's podcasts and episodes like this that people need to hear if they want to rise above, raise their frequency to another level, to actually commit to change. Because if they don't raise their vibration and they don't raise themselves to that level, I mean, you're just gonna stay comfortable and you're gonna be in the same spot in a year. But right now it's just Instagram, Roman Roumiantsev is my handle, and that's it. Just DM me, give me a follow. I'm on there every single day. You'll see my daily routines. They're all in my stories. I post daily content every single day, from workouts to mindset to everything, nutrition. And yeah, it's just the beginning for me. But
Listen,
like I said, hopefully in a year I'll be back here and it's gonna be a
Roman,
lot bigger and better.
Roman, I have to say this. You ought to look at it as a podcaster yourself. You have enough to actually give and talk about things. But I can tell you this, it starts with one step, right? You got to start, and you did. Now you're already in it. And to your point that you said earlier, you're always going to find what's the next move? What's the next move? What's the next move? I'm telling you, I know this because this idea that I had was a small idea that I had as a dream 3+ years ago. I'm just 3 and 2 months right now. And literally it evolved into something that I didn't even think about. Well, I thought about it, but in the beginning, you don't know what it looks like. You just know what it is. And then and even today, I know what I want and I know where I need to be, but it's still not all fully. I know the picture, but it's getting there. But the journey itself is just amazing because you are transferring, you're changing, you're like looking, tweaking, and it takes sacrifice. It takes a lot of stuff, believe me. But I tell you what, I lost a job because of this, because it was a conflict, and frankly, I don't regret it because I know what this means versus a job. And in a few years from now, I know I will be thanking myself, for doing and making a decision, even though today looks a little tough in terms of that angle, but it doesn't matter. It's how I feel about it. And, yes, it's going to take some sacrifices, some struggles, but the end of the game is the win. That's when, you really see the value. So I know in a year from now, this is going to be better for you. In 2 years, forget about it. And only God knows where you're going to be in the next few, years, decade, and whatever, and how many people you're going to change their lives. Because that's the other thing, and by the way, you don't even need to know how many, but that just by doing your posts on the day-to-day basis, there are followers that are actually taking stuff from you. There are people that are using, you don't know who they are. And they're not telling you, hey, you changed my life, but they're taking from you and applying. And before you know it, that legacy is there. Boom, 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 and it's growing. And it's viral. And without even knowing, we think about the viral concept in terms of social media. There are things that are viral we don't even know. It's one word, one expression that someone is using now that is applying, in their life, that's making a difference. So don't worry about it, dude. You got this. And we will be back. We will definitely have you back. All right. Well, listen, Roman. So what will be just final words of wisdom to close our episode today?
I'm going to say the biggest thing for me is there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of information. We're in the era of an abundance of information. So we could go through motivation and books and podcasts and everything, right? And we could smother ourselves in information, but we don't do any action. So what I would suggest, which helped me a lot, is it's not about the new information that we take in. It's about deducting the things that we don't need in our life. So there's a lot of things, and we all know them. The little things that we could stop, that we do all the time. Take the things that bring you no purpose away out of your life, and they're going to compound. Once you take a few away, you're going to notice a few more. And once you could just dumb down the system of your day-to-day, You will have such a clear head, but you will figure out what you really want to accomplish.
That's it. I'm not
That's
even going
it.
to add to that. That's pretty powerful,
That's
Roman.
it.
It was a true honor, a pleasure. I enjoyed this hour, a little bit more than an hour, but you know what? It was worth every minute of it. And hope that people that you're watching and listening right now, you got some value from it. And I know there's value. So take what you can, you know, from this show, from another show. Reach out to Roman, follow him, see his work and his journey. And you know what? This is what it is. You know, we're here to help and to share the resources. So hope you've enjoyed this particular show, and you know we'll be looking for the next one. So I'm Hurricane Age. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Roman, for being with us today.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.